Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers. This is Mohammad Amin, works at SRM Welkin Higher Secondary Support in SST department. I hope you all are fine. And today my topic is for class 8, which is civilizing the native, educating the nation. Let's start this topic with the train of slides. Let's start the topic, which is civilizing the native, educating the nation. First of all, there arise so many questions regarding this topic, which are how British saw the education, what British thought and did, and how some ideas of education evolved in last 200 years. We'll also see how Indians reacted to British ideas, and how Indians were to be educated, and how Indians were to be civilized through this system of education, which British had to improve in India or establish it in India. First of all, we will see the tradition of Orientalism. Here, the term Orientalism is the imitation or depiction of aspects in Eastern world usually done by writers, designers, and artists from the West. In Urdu, it is simply Mashrikiyat. Now, in 1783, a person named William Jones arrived in Calcutta, appointed as a junior judge at Supreme Court. He was expert in law, and he was also a linguistic and studied so many languages, for example, Greek and Latin at Oxford, and also knew the languages of French, English, Arabic, Persian, Sanskrit, etc. And he also spent many hours with Pandits, and they taught him Sanskrit, grammar, and poetry. And he also studied ancient Indian texts on law, philosophy, religion, politics, morality, arithmetics, medicine, and sciences. Now, the Englishmen Henry Thomas Coolbrooke and Nathaniel Hallhead also were busy in discovering ancient Indian heritage and translating Sanskrit and Persian works into English. Now, Jones set up Asiatic Society in Bengal called Asiatic Research, and he thought that to understand India, it was necessary to discover the sacred and legal texts, which could reveal the real ideas and laws of Hindus and Muslims. Discovering Indian texts and translating them would help British and Indians to rediscover own heritage. By this, the Britishers will become the guardians and masters of Indian culture. And they felt that institutions should be set up to encourage the study of ancient texts and teach Sanskrit and Persian literature and poetry. Hence, to promote the education system, a new madrasa was set up at Calcutta in 1781 to promote the study of Arabic, Persian, and Islamic law. Now, the Hindu College was also established in Banaras in 1791 to encourage study of ancient Sanskrit texts and would be useful for the administration of the country. Now, some scholars thought that there are the grave errors in this education system. We will simply know that the grave errors of the East. In 19th century, British officials criticized the Orientalists' vision of learning, and they said that knowledge of East has full of errors and unscientific thought. James Mill attacked the Orientalists. He was the first scholar who attacked the Orientalism or Orientalists. And he thought that, James Mill thought that to win a place in hearts among Indians, we ought to be teach what was useful and practical. Indians should be made familiar with scientific and technical advances. In 1830s, attack on Orientalists became very sharper. One was Thomas Babington Macaulay, and he saw India as uncivilized and need to be civilized. And he thought that Eastern language could not be compared to England. And he said that a single shelf of good European library worth whole native literature of India and Arabia. Machiavelli emphasized need to teach the English language and allow them to read finest literature. So that following the Machiavelli's Minute, English Education Act of 1835 was introduced in India, where English should be the medium of instruction for higher education. Now the scholars thought that there should be the education for commerce as well. In 1854, Court of Directors, East India Company in London, sent an educational dispatch to Governor General, and this dispatch was issued by the Charles Wood and popularly known as the Wood's Dispatch. And he was also opposed to the Orientalists. And this dispatch also opposed the Orientalists. And according to this dispatch, there should be the expansion of trade and commerce. And Indians should be know what is the importance of developing resources. There should be the European way of life. Now, we will see in this what happened to the local schools and what were the rules and regulations in the local schools which were known as the Pathshalas. Here we will see the report of the William Adam. In 1830s, William Adam, a Scottish missionary, toured the districts of Bengal and Bihar, asked by company to report on progress of education in vernacular schools. Vernacular here referred to as the local languages. And Adam found that there are 1 lakh Pathshalas in Bengal and Bihar having no more than 20 students. And there were the 20 lakh students in these Pathshalas and getting the education. And these institutions were set up by the wealthy people or local community. And there the teacher was Guru. And there were no uh, rules and regulations, no fixed fee, no printed books, no separate school buildings or classes, no benches or chairs, no blackboard, no call register, no annual examination, and there were also no regular timetable in that very pathshalas. And fee depends on the income of the parents, and there were no fixed fee, and teaching was oral. Guru has to decide what to teach. And there were no classes during the harvest time. Pathshala started again when crops had been cut and stored. And the British found that there should be the rules and regulations in handling these schools. Now, British started new routines and new rules in these schools. In mid-19th century, company was concerned primarily with higher education, and it allowed local pathshalas to function without much interference. After 1854, company decided to improve system of vernacular education, and this could be done by imposing routines, establishing rules, ensuring regular inspections. And British appointed number of government pundits looking after 4 to 5 schools, and Guru asked to submit periodic report. Now all was regular, the fixed fee, the timetable, the call registers, blackboards, etc., etc. Now, what would be the agenda for the national education? Now, here is the subtopic of agenda for the national education. Now, British officials not only thinking about the education in India, but there were also so many thinkers and so many social reformers in 19th century different from different parts of India need wider spread of education. They were impressed with Europe. Some Indians felt that Western education would help in modernizing India, and they argued British that to open more schools, colleges, and universities in India. But there were other Indians, they were against Western education. For example, Mahatma Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore. There were various scholars which were against this Western education, which were started by the British authorities. But we will see here the ideas of Mahatma Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore. Why these two were against this type of education? Now we will take the example of the Mahatma Gandhi. He said that English education had enslaved us. Mahatma Gandhi argued colonial education created a sense of inferiority in Indians and see Western civilization as superior and destroyed pride of their own culture. There was poison in Western education according to the Mahatma Gandhi, and he found that this Western education is sinful and enslaved Indians. Now the Indians educated in these institutions began admiring British rule, according to the Mahatma Gandhi. And Mahatma Gandhi wanted education that could help Indians recover their sense of dignity and self-respect. During national moments started by the Mahatma Gandhi, he urged the students to leave educational institutions, said that Indian languages ought to be the medium of teaching. English education focus on reading and writing rather than oral education. And Mahatma Gandhi said that value it valued the texts than practical knowledge. Education ought to develop mind and soul, according to Mahatma. Now, the nationalist sentiment spread began to think system of national education. And this was the ideology of the Mahatma Gandhi, and he was against this system of Western education. And he wanted the education could help Indians recovering their sense of dignity and self-respect. Now we will see the Tagore's abode of peace. Rabindranath Tagore started institution in 19 01. As a child, Tagore hated going to school, found schools suffocating and oppressive, and he wanted to set up a school where children could be free and creative and able to explore their thoughts. And he wanted the teachers in the institutions had to be imaginative and help the children develop their curiosity. Tagore felt that creative learning could be encouraged only in natural environment. So he set up a school 100 kilometers away from Calcutta, and he saw it as an abode of peace, which is known as the Santi Niketan, living with nature. And after independence, there were so many debates and discussions regarding this improvement of education system in India. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like that video and subscribe the channel. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.